I was so sure that this was it. The product was perfect, the branding was on point. I honestly believe that our new oil brand had a 99% chance of success. But that was back in 2018. Fast forward and almost all of it is gone. I was sitting in my garage surrounded by stacks of unsold oil that were starting to look like a tombstone more than inventory. I was just staring at a bank account that was bleeding out faster than I could stop it. This is the story of how my dream crashed headfirst into the brutal reality of business. It's a story about cash flow, partnerships, and the painful, expensive lessons I've learned along the way. Today, I'm sharing the ones that cost me the most, hoping you don't make the same mistakes I did. It all started from a place of passion. Motorcycles aren't just a hobby for me, it's in my blood. I grew up around the smell of race gas, waking up on Saturdays to go riding, tinkering on my bike until the sunset. I've been riding since I was a kid. Some of my earliest memories are on a motorcycle. So fast forward, back in 2018, I had been working for a company that wanted to come out with some new products. And naturally, I turned to the motorcycle industry, something I knew well. And the market for motorcycle oil just felt flat. It felt corporate. It was all these massive, faceless giants that I had grown up with. Their products worked, sure, but had no soul. They didn't feel made by people who actually lived and breathed the sport. So I saw a gap for a brand built by and for the weekend warriors. The guys who spent their Saturdays at the track or at the desert and their weeknights tinkering in the garage. So I did what any naively entrepreneur would do. I roped in my brother and a buddy of ours. To our core, we were all marketing nuts, obsessed with the industry of motocross. And so we decided to launch our own brand together. And the idea was simple: create a boutique, full synthetic oil that was made for the insane demands of motocross. And so we already had our first name for our product. We called it Prophetic Synthetic. We were having fun with it. It was fun. And that was our secret sauce, the thing that would set us apart. And our guiding principle was really straight out of a movie. If you build it better, the riders will come. And we were convinced that a superior product and superior brand was all that was needed. I remember we built the company dreaming of sponsoring riders, having our logo on bikes, on banners, what have you. And we trusted each other completely, which sounds great, but we never actually defined any rules. We were just three friends full of passion, charging ahead with zero structure. And that is where the first crack in the foundation appeared, even if I couldn't see it. Passion is an incredible engine, but it doesn't steer the ship. I learned way too late that having the right people is a critical component for success. But it's more than just finding people you trust. You have to define roles with brutal honesty. You have to figure out who's gonna do the crappy work, the paperwork, the logistics, the shipping, the sales calls, you name it. Because nobody wants to do them, but they have to get done. Building with people you trust is crucial, but you also have to be ready for the tough, soul-crushing conversations that come with running a business. It's not all high fives and victory laps. I'd say most of it is a grind. But back then, I was blissfully ignorant. Just a rider, blinded by passion, staring at a finish line that I was so sure I was going to cross. So that first year was a total blur of obsession. It was a crash course in chemical engineering that I was not ready for. None of us were. We were on the phone constantly with chemists, wrapping our heads around shear stability, viscosity index, thermal breakdown, just things that we had no idea what we were doing. I barely got through high school. We were a tiny startup with a tiny budget, trying to compete with giants who had $1 million R&D department. It was humbling and expensive. Dozens of formulas failed spectacularly. I can't tell you how many formulas we went through. And what I haven't explained is what we were making. We were on a quest for creating the best two-stroke oil we could think of. And so when we were testing different formulas, some would have incredible performance but wouldn't give us that smell that we were looking for. And for those that don't know, a two-stroke engine, when it burns oil, so you get that smell with it. Other formulas had the smell but didn't have the performance, so engineering was actually becoming kind of a work of art. Every batch failed was just another chunk out of our bank account. The price of raw materials could swing wildly, and one bad additive, one bad mess up could ruin an entire production run, setting us back weeks if not months and thousands of dollars. But then we nailed it. I want to show you guys this. After endless tests, we didn't have just a formula that was good. It was great. And this is what we called it. Holy Smoke 2-stroke oil, full synthetic coffee premix. That was so fun. We had decided that we didn't want what everyone else was doing. A lot of the competitors would use a castor base to make it smell really good. We wanted to go the full synthetic route, so you have insane performance, and who doesn't like the smell of coffee? So we blended the two. It was a wild leap, but we thought, you know what? Let's just go for it. And in our own independent tests, it was outperforming some of the biggest names in the game. It was, and still is, a great formula. I'll never forget holding that first perfect sample. It was dark liquid gold that we could tangibly feel. It was awesome. It was validation of the sleepless nights and all the hard work that had gone into it. And with the product perfected, we went all in on branding. We wanted to scream authenticity, something that is relatable. We ditched the plastic, like what everybody else was doing, and we went back to tin, as you guys can see, leaning into that Americana, gritty, nostalgic vibe. It felt right, and it felt like us. Now, initially in our first run, we did go plastic, but we thought, yeah, it's a good formula, but what really sets us apart? Just a little backstory. So we're chugging along on the branding, getting product, all that stuff. And then we get a call from FMF. For those that may not know, FMF is an iconic brand in the motocross industry. I think it's been around for over 50 years now at least. And they wanted to place a large order for some grease, which we were also trying to make. For me, as a kid who grew up with that brand, it was kind of a pinch me moment. Still looking back, it's so cool. But this is where we learned a painful lesson. We decided to put the grease in our signature tin cans, a little 16-ounce tin can, which nobody in the industry was doing. And we quickly found out why. The cans leaked, they weren't sealed right, it was a disaster. We had long nights, me, my brother, his wife, my at the time girlfriend, cleaning grease off each individual tin can, putting labels on it, putting bags around it so it's sealed properly and doesn't get on any of the product that was going in the box that FMF had ordered. From all the time and materials that we spent cleaning up the mess, we barely made a profit on the biggest order that we'd ever gotten. We thought once you developed the perfect formula, the rest would be easy. And fuck, we were wrong. That wasn't the finish line. That was just the price of admission. So jumping ahead, getting into kind of the unraveling. The day the first full production run of our new formula landed, it was awesome. Pallets of our oil with our name on it, stacked high. It was sick. It was a real tangible moment of our hard work. We celebrated, we took pictures, it just felt like a win. But that feeling lasted about a week. Soon those pallets went from being a monument to a tomb. They filled our garages, yes, garages, plural, a constant silent reminder of all the money and time just sitting there. And stick with me, this brings me to the most brutal lessons of all. Lesson 1, cash flow is king. If you're in business, you hear it all the time, but you don't feel it until you're living it. There's a widely cited statistic that 82% of small businesses will fail due to poor cash flow management. We were becoming a part of that statistic. Our optimism led us to a catastrophic mistake. We poured every last dime into things that were unproven or just expensive overhead like inventory and rent. Because all that stuff was filling up our garages, we had no more room, we had to get a mini office and a mini warehouse. Looking back, had to. It's just naive. We had thousands of gallons of the world's best motocross oil and no money for marketing or anything else to push the product. We had no cash to actually run the business. And if I'm being honest, our sales projections were based on hope, on feeling, not based in fact, completely ignoring the daily, weekly, monthly responsibility of keeping the lights on. And lesson number 2, a partner should solve problems, not just fund them. Because we were getting strapped with cash, we brought in an investor and partner. He was a great guy and still is, but we all had rose-colored glasses on for sure. But what we desperately needed was not just the money, but someone to actually work on the business with us. We made the mistake of thinking a cash infusion would solve all of our problems, but we needed more hands, more voles, really more expertise in the daily grind. Looking back, it was another big mistake born from just optimism. And I could make a whole nother video probably on partnerships in business if you guys ever want me to. let me know. But that's not what this video is for. All of this was happening while I had a 9-to-5 job as well. The stress was unbelievable. I hated logistics, I hated spreadsheets, I hated managing inventory. So like an idiot, I decided to do it all myself to save money. And the result was catastrophic burnout. Here's kind of what it looked like. After my day job, I would drive over to the office, about a 30-minute commute in Southern California at rush hour. I would spend long nights packing boxes, printing shipping labels, making sure things are just flowing. One of my early mentors had told me something: don't major in the minors. I really wish I had taken that to heart, because what I was doing was actually majoring in the minors. I was working in the business, not on the business, and not taking a single dime from the revenue. And because I hated it, I frankly was terrible at it. We had no real inventory tracking system. Our margins were kind of all over the place. We were shooting from the hip on marketing stuff, just common mistakes for small businesses. So I made another genius decision. Hey, let's put it all into Amazon. FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, how we all get our products from Amazon, if you're a consumer, was the promised land in my head. A turnkey solution for all our logistical, sales, marketing problems. It was a fucking trap. And while it became our main sales channel, the fees were an absolute killer. Between referral fees, fulfillment fees, storage fees, long-term storage fees, I mean, there was so many freaking fees. And at the end of it, Amazon was essentially taking around 35%. We were selling product, but we weren't making any real money. We were just spinning our wheels, funding Amazon's bottom line while not focusing on ours. And what I realized is you have to know your numbers down to the last penny, or you'll bleed out without even realizing it. And this is the climax and the breaking point. It was a phone call. It was our co-packer, the company that we partnered with to blend and pack everything. We were already behind on an invoice, leveraging ourselves way too thin. The tone was professional and cordial, but the message was a total gut punch. And it went like this: hey, we can't extend your credit anymore, and we can't do any more small runs for what you want. You guys are gonna have to meet the new higher minimum order quantity, and you'll have to pay for the past invoice and the new one up front. He gave me the dollar amount. It was impossible. It might as well have been $1 million, I swear. So to keep things going, we just threw it on my personal credit card. This was all happening while planning a wedding and getting married. It was insanely stressful. So I hung up the phone, walked into our storage unit because that's where we had to move everything because the rent was just way too high. And I kind of just stood there in silence, staring at walls of boxes and inventory. The dream felt officially dead. That I just don't know how we could carry on. And it didn't feel dead because the product was bad or people didn't like it. It died because of our own business blindness. It died because we had built a high performance engine but had completely forgotten to build the wheels, the chassis, or the steering, all the other components to a car. It was just a useless, expensive engine sitting there. So hitting rock bottom, not to be dramatic, gives you a horrifying yet clarifying perspective. In that moment of failure, something shifted. I had to stop thinking like a rider and an enthusiast and start thinking like an owner who had to save his company. And the first step was painful, radical honesty. I started tracking every single dollar, building the budgets and the spreadsheets that we had avoided for years. We swallowed our pride and started just calling accounts, trying to get more sales in the door, talking to people who have had successful businesses. I shut my mouth and just listened. And we got lean, like incredibly lean. There's a reason the root of the word passion means to suffer. I always thought passion was about love and excitement. I learned it's also about your willingness to suffer for what you believe in. I had to embrace the suck. I had to learn to love the grind of the business. I know that word grind it's so saturated now, but learning to love the grind, not just the fun parts. The perfect product, I now realize, is just the starting line. The real race is the grueling marathon of managing cash, building distribution, tracking your marketing, and slowly, painstakingly earning customer trust. If you're in a partnership, having the right people is everything. But it's not just about friendship. As I mentioned earlier, it's about clear roles, accountability, aptitude, and having the guts to have brutal, honest conversations. The Amazon margin trap, packaging roadblock, the flashy but not effective marketing. All of these hardships taught me the ultimate lesson. And it's very cliche, but you either have a plan or you plan to fail. So where's the brand now? So it's alive. It's not a world-renowned brand that we had dreamed of, but it's alive. So we pretty much operate on a shoestring budget. We do small strategic production runs on orders that we can actually control the margin and our net profit, things that I didn't even pay attention to in the beginning. I know, pour it on me in the comments. I trust me, I'm harder on myself than you guys probably are on me. We focus on commercial accounts and mechanics that need good, solid oil, that like our message, that like our story, that like us just as people. And we have a small but fiercely loyal group of customers and followers that have kept the engine running. And I am beyond grateful for every single one of them. If you're watching, thank you. We're slowly expanding into other areas like aerosols, things that don't require too much capital. We're slowly expanding into other areas that I personally like the apparel, and building the brand brick by brick, the right way this time. We're surviving by being a niche, community-focused brand, not by trying to take on the giants. Failure is the best teacher that I've ever had. It's also the most expensive. This whole journey has been a masterclass in humility, not taking yourself too seriously, and getting rid of your pride. And for those that want to start a business based off passion, please just take it from me. I'm turning 30 this year. Had I known what I know now, I would be so grateful. So just please take this to heart. Passion is not always enough. It's great. You have to be passionate, but it's not the only part of the formula. And don't get analysis paralysis. You'll learn as you go, but try to learn from me and others that have started and hit roadblocks and have had to learn painful lessons. And that is the brief story, guys. The brand is still here, scarred and smarter. And like I said, we still have product on the website. And if you're a rider and want to try it out, supporting Reverend Motors would mean the world. You can check that out in the description below. There's a link there. So if you want to try it, give it a go. I would be so grateful, and would love to hear your feedback on the product too. And that leads me to my next point. I want to hear from you guys. Everyone who has ever tried to build something has a knew nothing moment. So what was yours? What was the brutal lesson your journey taught you? And it doesn't have to be business. It could just be pursuing a passion or what have you. So leave a comment below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope this gives value to just even one person. If it can help one person, that would be awesome. And yeah, this was brief, but I could go into much more greater detail into the lessons that I've learned. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. And till next time, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.